All right, so are you ready to dive deep into the world of finished leather?
Absolutely.
Get ready, because today we're going to help you crush that interview for a warehouse manager position.
That's right.
We've got all the RoleCatcher intel for you, career guides, sample interview questions, all the good stuff.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
Let me tell you, this role is more than just, keeping track of fancy handbags. We're talking automation,
Uh-huh.
a global network of suppliers,
Wow.
even some travel opportunities down the line.
I know, right?
Pretty cool stuff.
This field is changing so fast. It's
Yeah.
really exciting.
So first things first, what exactly does a finished leather warehouse manager do?
Well, they're pretty much the conductor of the whole leather operation,
Okay.
managing the inventory, making sure the quality is top-notch, keeping those shipments flowing smoothly.
So many moving parts.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget leading a team of warehouse rock stars.
It's exactly. You're going to need to know how to manage people, for sure. And that's where these RoleCatcher interview questions come in. They're designed to see if you've got what it takes. So let's dive into the first one. What experience do you have managing finished leather warehouses?
Okay, so it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But they're looking for more than just a list of your past jobs.
Okay.
They want to hear about specific scenarios where you really had to handle inventory or make sure the quality control was perfect, or maybe even, when you had to implement a whole new storage system.
I see. So it's all about how you handle those challenges, right?
Exactly. And don't forget about the results. Did you, reduce waste by 10%? Did you make shipping 15% more efficient? Those numbers really make you stand out.
So it's like telling a mini success story for each experience, right?
Exactly. So instead of just saying, I managed inventory, you'd say, I streamlined the inventory process and saved the company 10% on storage costs.
Oh, wow.
Makes a big difference.
That's great. Now, I bet they're going to hit you with some follow-up questions.
Oh, absolutely. Like, what were some of the unique challenges you faced managing a finished leather warehouse, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. So how do you prepare for that?
Well, you've got to understand the little things about leather care. Think temperature control, humidity,
Yeah.
even making sure the lighting is right so the leather doesn't fade.
Oh, yeah.
RoleCatcher really stresses how important it is to know your stuff when it comes to leather. You have to be more than just a manager. You have to be a finished leather expert.
Got it. So be ready for those follow-up questions. They're going to dig deeper.
Mm.
Okay, on to question 2. How do you ensure the quality of finished leather products stored in the warehouse? Attention to detail, right?
Big time. This question is all about showing them how meticulous you are and how well you understand quality control.
I see.
So walk them through the steps you take. Do you have a system for regular inspections? How do you keep track of and fix any imperfections? Do you train your team to spot potential problems?
So you're not just checking for scratches.
No. You're building a whole quality control ecosystem.
I like that. So what kind of follow-up question can we expect here?
Well, they might say something like, can you give me an example of a time when you found a quality issue with a finished leather product? And then, of course, what did you do to fix it?
Okay, so they want a real-life example. You got to be ready with those stories. All right, question 3. How do you manage inventory levels in a finished leather warehouse? This one seems pretty intense.
Well, managing inventory is crucial for any warehouse. But with finished leather, it's even more important. Remember, you're dealing with really valuable items, often with specific storage needs.
So it's not just about knowing how many boxes you have, right?
Yeah.
You've got to keep that letter in perfect condition.
Exactly. Talk about the systems you use, barcode scanning,
Yeah.
RFID tagging, even specialized software. But also, don't forget about the people. How do you train your team to handle these products carefully?
That's a good point.
Oh, and they might throw in a follow-up like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a sudden increase or decrease in demand. How did you change your inventory strategy to cope?
Ooh, so they're really looking for someone who can think on their feet.
Absolutely. You got to be adaptable
Yeah.
and proactive.
Okay, so question 4. How do you ensure compliance with safety regulations in a finished leather warehouse? I mean, safety is important everywhere, right?
For sure. But RoleCatcher highlights some really specific things you need to think about with finished leather, like ventilation to prevent mold, handling the chemicals used to treat leather.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's all about showing them you understand the unique safety needs of this industry. You're not just checking boxes.
Okay, so what kind of follow-up question could they ask about safety?
They might want to know about your training procedures, like, how do you keep your team up to date on the latest safety rules for finished leather? Or tell me about a time you had to introduce a new safety protocol. What were the challenges and how did you make sure it was successful?
You've got to be prepared for anything. Okay, before we get to the next set of questions, let's take a quick detour and talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a serious advantage in prepping for your interview.
Yeah, this is where technology can really be your best friend.
Okay?
RoleCatcher's AI can actually look at your resume and tell you which areas need a little boost, especially when it comes to those keywords and skills that everyone in the finished leather industry is looking for.
So it's like having a personalized resume expert just for you.
Pretty much.
I love that.
And it doesn't stop there.
Oh.
You can actually use the AI to practice your answers to these interview questions and get feedback that's specific to the job you want.
It's like having a mock interview with a pro who knows exactly what the employer wants.
That's the idea. And the best part, you can practice as many times as you want until you feel super confident.
All right, back to those questions. Number 5, how do you manage a team of warehouse staff effectively? Leadership time.
This is where you really get to showcase your ability to motivate, delegate, and build a strong team. Think of specific examples where you had to coach someone, resolve a conflict, or inspire your team to reach a goal.
So what kind of follow-up question might they ask to test your leadership skills?
They might ask about your leadership style. How do you approach motivating and empowering your team? Or tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult employee. How did you handle that situation?
Okay, so you've got to be ready to show off those leadership skills. All right, on to question 6. How do you ensure that finished leather products are stored in the warehouse correctly? Back to the leather itself, it seems.
This one's all about showing them you understand proper leather care and storage, temperature, humidity, protecting it from dust and light, all that good stuff. RoleCatcher goes into a lot of detail about best practices. Make sure you're familiar with those.
Okay, so it's more than just basic warehouse organization. You're like a finished leather storage pro.
Absolutely. They might even throw in a follow-up question that's really specific, like, what kind of shelving system do you recommend for storing finished leather and why? Or, imagine you find out a batch of leather was stored incorrectly. What steps would you take to assess the damage and prevent it from happening again?
They're not messing around. Okay, be ready to get into the nitty-gritty details and show them you're a leather storage master. Now, this next question seems a little tricky. How do you handle customer complaints about finished leather products? Even in a warehouse, you have to deal with customers.
Oh yeah, customer service is essential, even in a warehouse role. This question is all about showing that you can stay calm under pressure, really listen to the customer, and find a solution that makes everyone happy.
Diplomacy skills.
Yeah.
You're representing the company, so you got to be graceful in those tough situations. What kind of follow-up question might they ask you?
Well, they might ask you to tell them about a time you successfully resolved a customer complaint related to a finished leather product. Or they might try to get a sense of your conflict resolution style with a scenario like, imagine a customer insists that a leather defect was caused by improper storage in your warehouse, but you're positive that's not the case. How would you handle that?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. You got to balance keeping the customer happy and protecting the company.
Exactly. It's a delicate dance.
Okay. Let's move on to question 8. This one seems pretty straightforward. How do you ensure that finished leather products are shipped on time and in good condition?
This is your time to shine when it comes to logistics. Show them how organized and efficient you are. Talk about the systems you use to track shipments, manage carriers, and make sure those precious leather goods are packaged properly for protection.
So it's all about proving you're a master of efficiency. What kind of follow-up question could we expect here?
They might want to see how you handle problems by asking something like, what would you do if a shipment got delayed because of something unexpected? How would you communicate with the customer and try to minimize any disruptions?
You got to be ready to think on your feet. Before we tackle those last 2 questions, let's circle back to RoleCatcher's AI for a minute and talk about how it can help you fine-tune those answers and boost your confidence.
This is where the video practice feature is super helpful.
Okay.
It's like having a personal coach who analyzes your body language, your tone of voice, even your overall delivery, and gives you feedback to help you present yourself in the best way possible.
So it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those little things can make a big difference in an interview.
Right. Okay, question 9. How do you manage the budget for a finished leather warehouse? Show me the money.
Right. This is where you get to show off your financial smarts and your ability to make good decisions that affect the company's bottom line.
Yeah.
Talk about any cost-saving measures you've implemented, ways you've made the best use of resources, or even successful negotiations you've had with suppliers. You're not just a leather enthusiast, you're a business-minded manager.
Love it. What kind of follow-up question could they ask to really test your financial skills?
They might say something like, "Can you give me an example of a time you had to make a difficult budget decision? How did you weigh the pros and cons and come up with the best solution for the company?"
Tough decisions,
Yeah.
but that's all part of being a manager. Okay, last question. This one's a little more open-ended. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies in the finished leather industry?
This is where your passion for the industry really gets to shine. Don't just list off industry publications. Talk about what really excites you. Maybe it's a new eco-friendly tanning process, a cutting-edge leather finishing technique, or the latest advancements in warehouse automation. Show them you're a lifelong learner who's genuinely invested in the world of leather.
I love that. So what kind of follow-up question could they ask here?
They might ask, what specific steps do you take to stay informed about industry trends, and how do you apply that new knowledge to your work? Or they might get more specific, like, what are your thoughts on the growing popularity of vegan leather alternatives? How do you see that impacting the future of the finished leather industry?
Okay, so be ready to talk about your industry knowledge and show them you can think critically about the future of the field. All right, that wraps up our deep dive into the first 10 sample questions. Now we're going to shift gears and explore the potential career path for a finished leather warehouse manager. And of course, we'll see how RoleCatcher's insights can help you plan your journey to success. But first, a word from our sponsors.
All right, welcome back. Are you ready for the next level of interview prep?
I am. That was a lot to think about.
Right. So many questions.
Exactly. Now I really want to know, what kind of career path can I expect in this field? Where can this job take me?
That's where those RoleCatcher career guides are super helpful.
Okay.
They have these detailed profiles for each step of your career, from entry level all the way up to senior management. It's like a crystal ball showing you where you can go
I like that.
and what you need to do to get there.
So let's say you're starting as a finished leather warehouse manager. What's next?
Well, a common next step is to become a warehouse supervisor.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's sample profile shows that you need a deep understanding of how everything works in the warehouse, but you also need strong leadership skills.
Makes sense.
Especially when it comes to training and mentoring your team.
So it's not just about knowing the warehouse, it's about leading people.
Exactly. And those leadership skills are going to be even more important as you climb the ladder.
I bet. So what's after warehouse supervisor?
The next step might be a senior warehouse manager, where you're in charge of multiple warehouses.
Wow.
Or maybe even a whole region.
That's impressive. What do you need for that kind of role?
RoleCatcher says you need strong analytical skills for that level.
Yeah.
Being able to come up with strategic plans and make them happen. And even being comfortable managing complicated budgets.
So it's like you're seeing the big picture of the whole leather world.
Yeah, from where it's made to where it ends up.
And if you want to reach the very top.
Well, some companies have positions like director of logistics or even chief operating officer. You're basically the boss of the whole supply chain.
No, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's room to grow in this field, and RoleCatcher can help you get there.
Yeah.
But it's not just about climbing the ladder, right? The leather industry is always changing.
It is. New technology, new trends all the time.
So how do you stay on top of everything?
Never stop learning. RoleCatcher recommends a few things.
Okay.
Like subscribing to industry magazines, going to workshops and conferences,
Uh-huh.
even joining those professional organizations so you can connect with other leather experts.
So it's all about expanding your knowledge and keeping your skills sharp.
Exactly. And don't forget about online resources.
Oh yeah, those are great.
There are webinars, podcasts, online courses, all dedicated to the latest in leather technology, warehouse management, and supply chain optimization.
It's like a whole world of leather knowledge at your fingertips.
Right. And sometimes just paying attention is enough. Go to trade shows, check out what your competitors are doing, stay curious about new trends. You never know where you'll find that next big idea.
So it's about being a lifelong learner, always looking for new information. Speaking of learning, let's get back to how RoleCatcher's AI can help you ace that interview.
Yeah. Remember how we talked about using their AI to practice your answers? Well, it can do even more. You can actually tell it which company you're interviewing with.
Oh, wow.
And it'll analyze their website, their social media, all that,
Okay.
to figure out their values, their mission, their whole company culture.
So it's like having a detective who digs up all the info you need.
Exactly. And then it gives you tips on how to use that info in your answers so you can show them you really get what they're all about.
It's all about going the extra mile and proving that you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for this job.
Right. And it can help you make sure your resume is tailored to the specific company, too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Working in a finished leather warehouse can be tough.
Oh, yeah. It's not all glamorous leather and fancy trips.
What kind of challenges should someone expect?
Well, RoleCatcher's Guide says it can be physically demanding, long hours on your feet,
I see.
maybe even exposure to chemicals used to treat the leather.
Right.
And you'll probably have to lift and move some pretty heavy stuff.
Definitely not a desk job.
Hmm.
So you need to be ready to work hard.
You do. And there can be times when things get really busy, like during peak seasons.
Yeah.
Lots of pressure, long hours.
So you've got to be adaptable and able to handle the ups and downs of the leather industry.
Exactly. But hey, there are perks too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, the guide says there's good potential to earn a good salary. And it's a pretty stable field.
That's good to hear.
And let's not forget about travel.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that.
Some jobs might involve visiting suppliers or going to industry events in different places.
So it's not all about being stuck in the warehouse.
Nope. You might get to see the world a little bit.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what the job is like, the challenges, the potential career path, and all the resources that can help you succeed.
We have.
But before we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with some thought-provoking questions to think about as they start their journey in this exciting field.
Ooh, I like that. Let's give them something to ponder.
Okay, here's the first one. We've talked about what the role is, like the tasks and skills and all that. But what about the why? What makes you want to work in finished leather warehouse management? What is it about this industry, about this specific job, that speaks to you?
It's such an important question.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with the bigger picture, understanding what drives you and how this job fits into your passions.
That's a good one. Think about that before you go into that interview. Let your passion show. Okay, here's another one. We've talked about keeping up with the latest trends and technologies, but what about the future? What do you think the finished leather industry will look like in 5, 10, even 20 years?
That's a great question. It gets you thinking critically about the challenges and opportunities ahead.
Exactly. Okay, last one. This one gets to the heart of your leadership style. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind as a finished leather warehouse manager?
Wow, that's powerful.
It's about defining your values and your vision.
And the impact you want to have on your team, your company.
Even a whole industry. It's about more than just managing a warehouse. It's about leaving your mark on the world of finished leather.
I love that. Really makes you think. Yeah, those are some really good questions to think about. It's not just about getting the job, it's about finding the right place for you and figuring out where you want to go in your career.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that perfect fit. So to everyone out there who's thinking about a career in finished leather warehouse management,
Good luck.
we're rooting for you. Remember, you've got this. We've talked about the role, those tricky interview questions, even what the future of the industry might look like.
And don't forget about all those amazing resources from RoleCatcher. Use them to polish up your resume, practice your answers, get feedback that's tailored just for you.
Preparation is key. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel when you walk into that interview room.
That's right.
And one last thing,
Yeah,
let your enthusiasm shine.
absolutely. Passion is a good thing.
Yeah, it can really make a difference. So go in there, be yourself, and show them why you're the perfect person to lead their finished leather warehouse into the future.
We're cheering you on.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.